Hey everyone, I'm Stephanie, and I believe that the right book at the right time can change lives, and that all readers should read children's literature, especially adults. So that's what we do here on the KidLit Love podcast. We celebrate all things children's literature: picture books, early readers, middle grade, and young adult novels for readers of all ages. In each episode, we'll talk with children's literature authors and discuss their books, their hopes, their dreams for readers, their writing process, and much, much more. Whether you're an adult reading to their inner child or connecting the young readers in your life with fantastic books, you've come to the right place. So grab a notebook to build your TBR, and let's get to today's episode of KidLit Love. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the KidLit Love podcast. I'm Stephanie Affinito, your KidLit loving host, inviting you back for another bookish conversation with a children's literature author. Today I'm talking with Tracy Wolff. Tracy is the #1 New York Times, #1 internationally, and #1 Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author of the Crave series, as well as many other novels. Over 70 of them, in fact. She's here today to talk about her newest release, The AFTERMYTH. This dark academia fantasy middle grade novel is a bold and magical tale about forging your own path. And I can't wait to talk with her all about it. So let's get right to the episode. Tracy, welcome to KidLit Love. I'm so glad you're here today.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. You are delightful, and as is your show, and it's a real privilege and honor to be here. I am Tracy Wolff, and I have written a bunch of different books. I've written a lot of adult books. I've written a bunch of middles or a bunch of YA books, including the Crave series. And this is my first foray into middle grade lit, and I'm super excited to be here doing it. I was a teacher for a lot of years, an English teacher,
Mhm.
and it always concerned me, I guess is the right way to say is, by the time I got them when I was teaching them in high school and then in college, and I did spend a few years in middle school as well, upper middle school. And by the time I got them, like the love for story that so many little kids have and love for reading and story time had really dissipated. And it had always bothered me, right? Like, what is it between like kindergarten when story time is the best time of the day and, when you're a freshman or a senior in high school that has made reading, so much less fun and something you don't want to have any part of. And Simon and Schuster is really concerned about that as well. And so being able to partner with them and do a really exciting series that we're hoping will help reinvigorate that middle group where that love of reading tends to dissipate. It's something we're both really excited about and really motivated to try and help do.
Yeah. Well, as a teacher educator, I teach children's literature at my
Oh,
university, and
amazing.
I still get to work with kids often. And I really appreciate the effort that authors are making, that publishers are making, because what you just said really is a real thing, right? The love of reading, the interest in reading does tend to dip. And it's something that all of us educators and librarians and book lovers are hopefully just running to them with the book they haven't found yet that is going to remind them of how wonderful it is. And this
Right?
book,
I think we all have that moment, right? Where we remember the book
yes,
that did it for us. I mean, I was always a reader from very, very early on, but I remember the moment it clicked and it was a Judy Blume book, Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. And I was just like, this is the most fun I've ever had, with the book. And I was very young. I was, I think, second grade. And from then on, I just became a voracious reader.
yes,
But yeah, it's finding that book and finding that character and finding that moment that like speaks to them and is also just a lot of fun and doesn't feel like work and doesn't feel like school.
yeah. So Judy Blume also did it for me. Tales of a
Did
Fourth Grade
she?
Nothing, yes, but then Are
Oh
You
my
There,
gosh.
God? It's Me,
Are you there,
Margaret.
God, me, Margaret? Oh
Yes,
my gosh. Blubber, all of them. They were
all of
so good.
them. Yeah,
So good.
yeah,
And I transitioned from there into like Sweet Valley High, which I loved as well. Francine
yes.
Pascal, just did a phenomenal job of hooking my whole generation, you know?
Yes.
Certainly the
Oh,
girl.
fond memories of the babysitting
Yeah.
club with Sweet Valley High right next to them as
Oh,
a
yeah,
related reader.
absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I have no doubt whether it's through my teacher lens or my children's literature lens or my reader lens that the Aftermyth is going to be that book for a whole bunch of kids. I mentioned before we pressed record that I was reading at home, and it's at the time of recording, it's holiday season, and so there's lots going on. There were people in and out of my home, and I'm reading your book. And I'm reading and I'm reading and apparently I'm reading and reading and reading because I had that moment where you look up and I thought, "Wait a minute. What time is it? Where am I?" Because I was just so lost in this world that you have created. I know kids are going to fall headfirst into this book and they are not going to want to come out. I did not want to come out.
Thank you. You know, that is the biggest compliment you could possibly have given me. Thank you so much. I know everything that goes into putting on a holiday that you're hosting in your house, and the fact that I could distract you even for a little while, like that's really incredible. I love this book. I had so much fun writing this book. My even my own children who are, teenagers and in their 20s, when they would like stop by, I'd be like, because my office is at the front of the house, and I'm like sitting on my little couch and I'm just writing away. And they're like, I haven't seen you have this much fun writing in
Mhm.
so long. And I'm like, it is so much fun. Like poor Penelope, who's the main character, right, of the Aftermath,
Yeah.
and what I put her through, but it was so much fun
Yeah.
to do it.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's introduce readers to Penelope and Penelope, Ellie, right? We could go back and forth on that name too, but give listeners a little overview of what the book is about. And I'd also love to hear the inspiration behind heading in this direction too.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a lot of things that kind of inspired this, but one of the things that always bothered me, the first book, in each book, we're going to kind of take on a different myth or a different aspect of Greek mythology. And in this book, we kind of took on the Pandora's box myth. And it's one of those things that's always bothered me from the time I learned about the myth. And it's the idea that Pandora was created by two male gods to punish two male titans for something that they had done. And she got all the blame through history. We don't hear their names as being responsible for all of this. We hear her name as she opened the box. She let all the evil into the world. And that's always been a thing that like just kind of stuck in my craw. Like how
Mhm.
many times this poor woman was blamed or this poor girl was blamed for doing something. And I thought, I kind of took the myth on a little bit in a book I wrote in 2012 called Doomed, that came out in 2012. And that was like a cyber Armageddon YA, which is very, very different than this. But I really wanted to take this one on, and I want to take a lot of them on because history has a tendency to be written by the winners.
Mhm.
And for a very, very long time, history had a tendency to be written by men. And this is, I like to call it a herstory, right? Penelope finds out. So the premise of the book, right, is Penelope has been super, super excited to go to this school called Anaximander's Academy. It's where her parents went and her grandparents went. It's a big familial tradition. And when you get to Anaximander's Academy, you're divided into five halls, one each representing a different Greek god. We have Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Athena, and Aphrodite. Well, all along, Penelope, who is a pretty studious kid, very kind of serious. She comes from a long line of people who've been in Athena Hall, and she expects that she and her twin brother Paris will also be in Athena Hall when they get there. Only when she gets there, everything possible kind of goes wrong. And she ends up in, I don't think it's a spoiler to say she ends up in an upside down waterfall, which is just one of the many, many different things about Anaximander's Academy. And long story short, she does not end up in Athena Hall. She ends up in the hall she had the least respect for. It's kind of the party hall
Mhm.
of um, of the series, and she ends up with a super fun best friend named Fifi and roommate who like immediately takes her under her wing and has her like even before she's like got her feet about her, right?
Mm.
Fifi's like, "Oh, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that and it's gonna be great." And she's like, I don't know. Like, I just want to go to Athena Hall. I'm supposed to be in Athena Hall." But also as the semester unfolds, Penelope one finds out she's exactly where she needs to be, and that there's a lot more to her than she ever imagined. But also, she finds out she has a really special power that not very many people have, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but how she handles the myth and how we end up looking at her story and how we end up looking at maybe things didn't go down quite the way we thought they went down
Yeah.
is I think part of the fun and the magic of the book.
Yes. I will not ever be able to say the word history again without saying herstory. That's I love that. That is exactly what we need. For sure.
I think so. I think in the world that we live in, it is
Yeah.
exactly what we need. This look at how did maybe you can't trust everything you hear, right? We're in this between all of the politics, all of AI, all of everything going on. Where like nobody really knows. Like this a post, whether they're scrolling through Instagram. Like, is this post true? Is this post
Right.
not true? Did it like AI just make this up? Like,
Yep.
what am I looking at here?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of tackling that and looking at the fact that things are a little different than we expect them or that we've learned that they are is I think a really great way to look at all history, not just like Greek mythology.
Yeah. Now you mentioned having a lot of fun writing
Oh
this,
my God,
and
so
even your
much fun.
kids knew you had fun writing about it. Tell me a bit about the process because you've got this storyline where, as you said, this one character just works so hard to get things to go in the direction and the way that she thinks they are supposed to go. And it seems like everything is pulling her in the exact opposite direction from where she has to live to the people she's hanging out with to her muses to all of the things. You've got this really immersive kind of plot line, but then you've got the Greek mythology, which is just so fun to dig into and to connect with. And so I'm just curious of how you juggled both, like what that process was of kind of researching the mythology to put in and just having that fun. I would love to know about the process you took and bringing it to life.
Well, there's so much fun, right? Like Penelope is named after Odysseus's wife, Penelope, and that's why we call her a weaver. 'Cause that's why her last name is Weaver, Penelope Weaver, because Odysseus's wife was a weaver and also very, very clever, right? We know all kinds of things about her. But it was a process of finding little pieces in me. I spent a long time wanting to build this really fun, fantastical world.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is the disco apple, right? And I don't want to say too much about it, but like that whole scene about how like Fifi spearheaded the entire thing, and suddenly Penelope's like, "Oh my gosh, like I shouldn't be doing this, but this is so much fun." This moment
Yeah.
of like, you know what, maybe some rules it's okay to bend a little bit, for her. And then just the idea of the campus and what I wanted the campus to look like. I don't think it's a spoiler because I've said this before. The campus is basically it's named after Anaximander, who's one of the very, very first philosophers that we know about. And he was super incredible. He came up with many things, including the concept of infinity, right?
Mhm.
And so we have as you go through the next few books in the series, we'll be learning more about him and this campus and all that. But it basically moves like a Rubik's cube. It's a logic problem, right? So every day, one side of the shifted campus is projected onto your ceiling, and from there you have to figure out what the other different sides of this type Rubik's cube type campus is. And so if you can't figure it out, you're going to be late for class. If you can't figure it out, you're not going to be able to get to the cafeteria. If you can't figure it out, you're not going to know where the library is, or even how to get back to your hall. And so just putting in all kinds of like fun things that are grounded in like Greek philosophy as well as Greek mythology was a lot of fun. But also, yeah, like so if you're turning campus, like what does that do to like a waterfall? Because it's set up in the Berkshires in Massachusetts where there are a lot of waterfalls. So if it turns as the waterfall upside down, how do you get into it? How do you find, in this case, she has to find her coin, right? To go into the thing where she gets sorted into the halls. And like, how does she get it? If it's like hovering over a waterfall or, stuff like that. And then also my favorite thing always is character. I love creating characters. I love creating characters that hopefully feel real and kind of help transport you into the story. And I had a lot of fun. One of my favorite side characters is Penelope's muse, who I'm going to have so much fun with as the series goes on. And I don't want to tell you her name because it's a spoiler, but she's this vegan pleather-wearing muse who everybody else's muse knows exactly what's going on and has everything down, including her roommates. And her muse is an absolute total disaster because she's never done this before.
He's a hot
And she
mess.
doesn't know anything that she's supposed to do. And then trying to like think of like how would you do classes in a school like this? So instead of like having like just regular classes that you go to when you go to these certain classes and then you graduate, each student gets their own labors, their own 12 labors after Hercules' labors. And to be able to graduate at the end of your 6 years, you have to have completed all those 12 labors. And poor Penelope, hers are just also a disaster.
Yeah.
Much like so much of her beginning at Anaximanders.
Yeah. And now listeners are getting a taste of why you look up and go, wait a minute, where am I? I'm not trying to get the coin. I'm not getting, I think that was one of my favorite scenes of just imagining her and really everybody and these coins and grabbing the coins and then using the coin to find your placement and what happens in that. Oh, it was so fun to imagine, like to just get lost in that world for a while.
Thank you
But what
so
I
much. I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. But I think what I also want listeners to know is while there's this world that is just so immersive and so fun to get into, there are really important real world themes that end up becoming quite evident and I think could be so important to readers. Like, the book is about figuring out all sorts of things, figuring out who you are and who you're meant to be and how your life is supposed to go and letting go and being open to things kind of not working out as they seemed, but maybe that's okay. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that because they're both there. The fun and the immersiveness, but also this, the thing I love about books is when you're so into the story that you can't help but feel the lessons that the characters are feeling in their bones. Like that was here too. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about those pieces that readers might walk away with also.
Oh, absolutely. Well, one of the biggest themes I think that comes through in most of the books I write, particularly books I write for young adult and now middle grade, is well, let's start with I consider writing for young adults and for middle grade students um, a huge responsibility. I really do. I think that if you're going to take on the role of writing a book that hopefully they will be immersed in and hopefully they will come to love, that there are a lot of responsibilities that go along with that. And one of the themes that I think goes through most of what I write, whether it's adult, young adult, or middle grade, is is there's all kinds of ways for women to be strong. There's I think that we're sold this bill of goods on a strong woman looks a certain way and she does things a certain way and it has to be that way. And I don't think it does. I think that there are all kinds of ways for women to be strong. I think there are girls who will kick down the door and, be the first one going into, whatever battle it is against, whatever it is in whatever book they're fighting or, whatever dragon you're trying to fight. But I think there are the girls who are just as strong who get knocked down and get back up one more time than they get knocked down.
Yeah.
That is a really powerful strength. The girls who are the nurturers, who are the cheerleaders, who are there like to be like, yeah, you've got this. I've got your back. Whatever it is you need, I'm here. I may not be able to wield a sword, but I make a mean cupcake, or whatever it is. And I think that really exploring that and saying, you know what? You are exactly who you were meant to be.
Yeah.
And you are strong and you are powerful, and you need to stand in your own power. It may not look like somebody else's, and that's okay, but stand in your own. And I think that's something that goes through all my works, but I think that really, really goes through Penelope and the Aftermath. And also this idea that it's okay to change. It's okay to grow. It's okay to be different than you thought you were going to be, different than Paris, who is her brother and one of her closest friends as the book starts, different than what her parental expectations were, different than even what her own expectations were, because we all like experience this world a little differently. And sure, we may all have an idea of how things are going to go, and and when it doesn't go that way sometimes, and we think it's our fault, sometimes we beat ourselves up or whatever it is. And I think sometimes, or most times, I think it's never okay to beat yourself up. Um, but I think that a lot of times we have to learn that sometimes the deviation, the detour, there's the word I was looking for. The detour is the most important part, and it teaches you things that you never imagined. Another thing that always goes through my work is control, and the fact that you only have so much control. I mean, I'm a big believer in like making a plan, doing your part, working at it, and all of that. But also, have lived long enough to know that sometimes life kidnaps you, and it takes a really, really, really different turn than you ever expected it to. And that's okay. And sometimes what you learn there and what you find there is better than anything you ever would have imagined. So those are some of the themes I think that run through the book.
Yeah,
And also always power, right?
yeah,
The importance of using power wisely and the importance of using power kindly.
yeah,
I think that the idea of kindness and the idea of creating characters who are actually really good people and who really just want to leave the world better than they found it.
yeah,
I too think I think that's a really powerful message
yeah,
for young people, or for anyone really.
yeah. Yeah, and that's all of what you're saying about the themes of finding your power, of having it look different in different ways, of being flexible to when life kidnaps you and things, go wrong. I really felt that at the end of your book, truly. And I'm an adult reader, but there's a 13-year-old Stephanie that's still living there inside, and I feel like your book, while you may have written it for middle grade, I feel like any reader that comes to it at any age is not only going to get lost, in the book and the story, but those lessons really are felt like deep in your heart when you are done. So listeners know that I think everybody should read children's literature no matter the age, but I think those lessons you just said, everybody continuously needs them. And I think adults need to be reminded of their power and the uniqueness, and that when things go wrong, perhaps that is directing you in another way as well. I think those messages are so powerful and we need them. I think the world needs them right now more than anything, Tracy.
I do not disagree. One of the things people who are close to me always say about my books, people who like know what my life is looking like at different times when I'm writing each of my books, right? Because I think that when you look at books, especially if you look at, this is the professor talking, right? If you look at the lexicon of an author's work, you notice themes that will permeate them from the beginning to the end, the first book to the last. But you can also look and see it's like a little picture into what's going on in their own lives, right? I always laugh. I say the second book of the Crave series, which is one of my YA novels, it's called Crush, and the hero is actually trapped in the heroine's head, right? And that happened because I was writing Crush during the very beginning of the pandemic, and we were all trapped inside. And like I hadn't originally planned for it to go that way, whatever, but like you're trapped inside, and this is what it feels like. And I think that, yeah, I think that most authors, right, when you look at their books, you see those are lessons that I continue to need to learn. you know,
Mhm.
even as even as, I write about them and my characters explore them, like, you know what, there are things you can control and there are things you cannot control.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just along for the ride and you can just only do so much
Yes.
to, you try to control the outcome as best you can. Or you try to, as when you're in those positions, I think you just try to live the best and kindest life you can.
Hmm.
And then you hope for the best.
That's it. The best and kindest life that you can. Now, I want to make sure that all educators and teachers know one more thing about your book, which is the prologue. Oh my goodness, Tracy. The prologue. So this is the most ideal candidate for a first chapter Friday if I have ever met one. You are going to read this two-page prologue aloud, not even two-page, and every kid is going to be clamoring for the first one to pick this up. That prologue is so stunning. I loved it.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I actually worked really hard on it. It took like, I'm usually a really fast writer, but I think that prologue took me like the better part of a day to get it. And I remember when I sent it to my editor, she was so excited by it as well. And I know that they've used it in a bunch of some of the lines and a bunch of their marketing as well for the book.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, and I think it really kind of gives you a clue about what you're going to be getting into when you pick up the series. But yeah, yeah,
It's
I like it. Thank you.
spectacular.
I will take the compliment. It's actually, there are pieces every once in a while you write something and you're like, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that prologue I'm actually very, very proud of.
Yeah.
Sometimes you write something and you're like, oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever written. Most of the time, that's what you write. And then you have to go back. But yeah, I'm very proud of it. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. That means a
Oh,
lot to me.
listeners are going to love that. Now you've mentioned a couple of times, and I want to make sure that I ask this question as we start to wrap up the episode, which is, are there more? You've said series. Give listeners a bit about that.
There are. I'm actually writing the second book in the series right now, and I'm not allowed or at liberty to talk about the title or the book yet, but you will get the same characters and you will get a deeper look into mythology and a deeper look into all of the characters' lives. You have Penelope, you have her two closest friends, Fifi and Arjun. And then you have a couple boys, and that's going to continue to develop as the series goes and as Penelope gets older. There's Sullivan, who is a Zeus boy, and there's Kyrian, who is a Hades boy.
Yes.
And they are both a lot of fun and very, very different in a lot of different ways. And so you're going to get to see a little more about them, and you get to explore I want to talk about it, but you get to explore another myth and actually several other myths in the second book in regards to one topic that I'm not really allowed to talk about yet. But yeah,
Oh,
it's
well,
coming.
that teaser was all we needed. That was enough to get our interest peaked. Now, as you think about the aftermath, going out into the world and getting into kids' hands, getting into adult hands, of course, too, what is your hope for the book or for the readers who get to experience it?
I that's such a good question. And I think that my hope for the book is that I hope the readers can get as lost in this world as I have been in so many books that I've read,
Mm.
whether it's a Judy Blume book or a Beverly Cleary book or my sons and I did story time with all of them. I remember the first time I picked up Percy Jackson, it was like I'd been hit by a lightning bolt, or the first time I picked up gosh, I'm trying to think of the name of it because I keep wanting to go to Holly Black's book, but it's not. It's the the Reluctant Prince. I can't remember now. But anyway, it's another series where like the voice just grabbed me. Well, I really hope that Penelope grabs readers and takes them on a journey that they love. And I hope that young readers particularly um get the message that they are enough exactly how they are,
Yeah,
and that they should embrace whatever difference, whatever weirdness, whatever
yeah,
thing they think makes them, different or not fit in, that's the most magical part of them.
yeah. Oh, they will feel that. They will feel that as they close the last page, and then this book will be the gateway book that just keeps them going into their reading life, right? If you can feel this way about this one book, then what happens when you just keep opening up other books for reading. This book is going to do that for sure.
You're so kind. Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun with it, and it means more to me than a lot than anything I've written in a long time. So I really hope that readers like it, and
Yeah.
I'm so excited that you do, and so grateful for your kind words.
Oh, so where can listeners find you online, social media, so they can keep up with all of your books, but especially what might be coming next for this series?
Absolutely. You can find me the easiest place to like to write to me or anything else is on Instagram, Tracy Wolff Books. And then I have a readers group on Facebook called the Wolf Pack with two F's. And that's a lot of fun. I love being in there, and we do give away sometimes, but we also just kind of talk about things and books and life and what everybody's up to and what they're reading. It's a great place for me. I get recommendations for books there all the time, of what, different people are reading. And then my website is tracywolfauthor.com. You can find usually what I'm up to and what's next there.
Okay, I will put links to all of those places in the show notes. And of course, links right to the Aftermyth in the show notes so that readers can click on them and get it in their hands as soon as they can. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been a real joy.
I've loved it. And listeners, thank you for listening to another episode of KidLit Love, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the KidLit Love podcast. You'll find links to all of the books, resources, and ideas mentioned in the show notes and at alitlife.com. You'll also find KidLit Love on Substack. That's where you'll find posts for each episode, monthly KidLit roundups, and an invitation to join my summer book club and go deeper into the world of children's literature. And if you loved this podcast and want more, you might like to listen to my other podcast called Get Literate. It's a podcast that explores all things books and reading, notebooks and writing to build a life you love. One more thing. If you loved what you listened to today, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast, or take a screenshot of the episode and text it to a friend. This helps the podcast grow and builds our bookish community of Kid Lit Love. Thanks for listening.